What's something your parents hid from you that you wish they hadn't? I grew up thinking my older sister Vera died in a car accident when I was 2. There was one photo of her on the mantle, this faded picture of a teenage girl with my exact nose and Dad's curly hair. Every year on March 15th, my parents would get quiet and sad. Dad would drink more than usual. Mom would lock herself in their bedroom. I learned not to ask questions about Vera. Kids at school would ask if I had siblings, and I'd say my sister died when I was little. They'd get uncomfortable and change the subject. Teachers who knew my family would give me this pitying look sometimes, like they knew something tragic about me. I figured it was just about losing Vera. When I turned 16, weird things started happening. Mom would flinch when I played certain songs. Dad removed all the sharp knives from the kitchen one day, said he was worried about accidents. They started asking strange questions about my friends, whether anyone was pressuring me, if I ever felt overwhelmed. I thought they were being typical overprotective parents. My Aunt Teresa came for Thanksgiving that year. She'd been drinking wine all afternoon and kept staring at me across the table. Finally, she blurted out, "God, you look just like her at that age," before everything went bad. Mom dropped her fork. Dad's face went dark. "Teresa, that's enough." But Teresa kept going. "He deserves to know. It's been 14 years. You can't keep pretending forever." They sent me to my room like I was 5 years old. I could hear them arguing downstairs, voices getting louder, someone crying. That night, I searched Vera's name online for the first time. Found nothing about a car accident, but I did find a small newspaper article from our local paper. Local teen missing after treatment center incident. Treatment center, not hospital. Treatment center. I confronted my parents the next morning. Mom was at the kitchen table, still in her bathrobe, looking exhausted. Dad stood by the coffee maker like he was guarding it. I showed them the article on my phone. "Just tell me the truth," I said. "What really happened to Vera?" They looked at each other for the longest time. Then Mom started talking in this flat, empty voice I'd never heard before. Vera had struggled with depression starting at 14. They tried therapy, medications, everything. She attempted suicide twice before her 16th birthday. The second time, she took every pill in the house and had to have her stomach pumped. That's when they sent her to Oak Ridge, a residential treatment facility 3 hours away. She seemed better at first, wrote letters home about group therapy and making friends. Then she started talking about this boy named Garrett, who was there for similar reasons. They fell into this intense relationship, feeding off each other's darkness. The staff tried to separate them, but they found ways to meet anyway. One night, 3 weeks before she was supposed to come home, Vera and Garrett broke into the medical supply room, took everything they could find. Garrett survived somehow. Vera didn't. She was 17. I sat there trying to process this completely different story. Why tell me she died in a car accident? Dad finally spoke up. "We thought if you knew the truth, you'd be afraid of your own brain. Every time you got sad or stressed, we'd wonder if you inherited whatever she was fighting. We wanted you to have a normal childhood without that shadow, but I did have that shadow. It just had a different shape. Instead of knowing my sister struggled and lost, I grew up with this vague ghost, this perfect dead girl I could never live up to or properly mourn. When I did get depressed in middle school, I thought something was fundamentally wrong with me because sadness wasn't supposed to run in our normal tragedy-struck family. Were you ever going to tell me?" I asked. Mom started crying. "When you turned 18, or if we saw signs, we promised each other we'd tell you then." The signs. That's what all the weird behavior had been about. I was the same age Vera was when she made her first attempt. They were watching me for cracks, for any indication I was heading down the same path. Every mood swing probably terrified them. I found more of Vera's things in the attic later. Journals full of poetry, drawings, letters she never sent. She was funny, dark funny, but still. She liked terrible punk bands and wrote sarcastic movie reviews in her diary. She was a real person with a real illness, not just a tragic ending. I started therapy the next month, not because I was suicidal, but because I needed to process having a sister I never knew I could have known. The therapist said family secrets like this are common but rarely helpful. Kids can handle more truth than parents think. My parents still flinch sometimes when I listen to certain music or stay in my room too long, but now I understand why. And when I actually did struggle with depression in college, I knew to get help immediately, knew it ran in the family, knew what could happen if I ignored it. I visit Vera's real grave now, not the car accident story they told everyone else. The headstone says, "Beloved daughter and sister." Sometimes I bring terrible punk albums and play them on my phone. I tell her about my life, about how Mom and Dad are doing, about how I wish they'd let me know her, even the hard parts, especially the hard parts.